You're listening to I Have Some Notes, a podcast supported by listeners like you. To contribute, visit patreon.com/I Have Some Notes.
Oh, here's a great pitch. A Marvel movie where the ragtag band of anti-heroes and former villains must join forces for the greater good.
Hell yeah. What's this team called? I mean, obviously, we can't call them the Suicide Squad because that's already taken.
Yeah, of course.
What about Thunderbolts?
That's already the name of the president in the MCU.
Right. The Avengers.
That is also already something's name.
The New Avengers?
I have some notes.
Welcome, everyone, to I Have Some Notes, the movie podcast with cuts, keeps, punch-ups, and tweaks on mediocre movies. I'm Liam Creswick.
I'm Scott C. Bourgeois.
And I'm still Greg Beaver.
And today we are discussing Thunderbolts with an asterisk. I love the punctuation in the movie titles. You never get asterisks. Colons, dozens of them.
Much less an asterisk that actually has a point to it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Occasional exclamation point. Everybody wants some. Exclamation point, if you recall. Starring, among other people, Wyatt Russell.
That's true.
But yeah.
It feels like this needs to be your very first video essay.
Punctuation and titles, yeah.
Yeah.
It honestly, the running gag of me always saying the thing just runs back. There's the first Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie is called Aqua Teen Hunger Force : movie film for theaters. Like the word colon is in the title of the movie, and I've just ever since then I can't not do that. So, yeah. Also, yeah, another movie with we're taking the Russell family to task this month.
Knocking them down like dominoes.
Look out,
need
Goldie
to find a
Hawn,
movie
you're
with
next.
Yeah, I was just going to say we need to find one with Goldie Hawn. Full disclosure, when a Marvel movie hits lately, we go and try to see it fairly early because I mean it's generally a surefire episode because they've mostly been middling at best for the last little while, and y'all like listening to us rag on Marvel movies, it turns out. So
and I mean, we gotta hold Gregg back. He's ravenous. It's been his decision every time because he just loves these movies. We've gotta like hold him. Like he's no, Gregg, it's not out yet. Don't stand in line. It's not Star Wars 1999.
But so we generally are expecting to get a good episode out of them, and then we went and saw Thunderbolts. And we all left the theater going, that was actually a pretty good movie. And Liam, to his credit, was like, whoa, hold on. We're just fresh out of that movie. Let's give it a day, sit on it, feel how we're feeling, think about it for a little bit. And the next day, Liam put a 4-star review up on Letterboxd. So,
which is my usual like thumbs up. I'll recommend. I'm usually most of my reviews are 4 stars, but yeah, there's a lot of Marvel really good at playing the trick on you to make you just really feel like, oh, that was a perfect movie. That's the best thing I've ever seen. Wait a minute. It's like a magic trick kind of where you like, if you think about it too hard, the worst one for me was, No Way Home. The Spider-Man with Doctor Strange in it, where I came out of that like, that was sick. It was so fun. And then, wait a minute. God damn it. No. Like the more I thought about it, the madder I got.
It's like eating like a whole bag of chips.
Yeah.
In the moment, it's really tasty. And then like an hour later, you feel really gross about it. Cause it wasn't good for you. But this one was actually a tasty little dessert. And, I think we were all pleasantly surprised by that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, going in, I was expecting something of a better Marvel movie than we had seen before. not that the bar was particularly high, but based on some of the reviews I skimmed and taken a look at Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic, it certainly seemed like it was going to be a better time than we'd been treated to previously.
Yeah. It's also interesting to note that this came out the weekend originally was supposed to be Kang Dynasty. The first Kang movie was supposed to be this month.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, before that whole thing was scrapped.
And so I really wonder, like, how is one of the silver linings, not silver linings, but like whatever pivot they had to do to clean up that mess, I wonder if it was to the benefit of this movie. Like if it got to do something a little, like what does this movie look like in a world where Jonathan Majors is still the main bad guy? Like, I'm just curious. I wonder how different it would be. Like, would it have different responsibilities? Would different characters be in it?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a question for our friend Robin Taylor, but do we know if this movie was written before that whole saga went down?
Yeah, I guess.
Or was it in production at all? I'm not sure.
Either way, it's the one we got this month, May 4th, came out. It was, of course, directed by Jake Schreier, written by Eric Pearson, who did Thor Ragnarok, Joanna Callow of The Bear, and Kurt Busiek, who's a comic book guy. We've written a lot of great comics, so I like when they get actual people who've written the comics to at least take a pass at these. And it was, of course, based on the Thunderbolts Marvel comics. And the cast of the Thunderbolts is as follows: Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova, Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier, Julia Louis-Dreyfus as Valentina Allegra Defontaine, Louis Pullman as Bob/Sentry/Void, David Harbour as Red Guardian, Wyatt Russell as U.S. Agent, Hannah John Kaiman as the Ghost, and Geraldine Vishwanathan as Mel.
Good old Mel. I like that there's a character named Mel and a character named Bob.
Yeah, I'll readily admit that for someone who is very down on the Marvel movies these days, I was somewhat annoyed that I liked it as much as I did because I don't really want to get reinvested in Marvel movies. I was kind of happy in my space where I didn't really have to pay attention or care, and I could just focus on other movies and franchises that were doing more interesting things. Is this movie going to pull me all the way back in? I guess we'll see. But yeah, that was my feeling as I exited the theater.
I had a good time with it. And I think the thing that stuck out for me that I liked the most was that it had meaningful stakes and an interesting theme that it explored. Is it a particularly deeply explored? Like, they didn't go deep on it. They didn't really have much to say, but the fact that it had anything to say about anything and that the moments of action felt like people were actually in danger, like they might fall down the elevator shaft, like
yep,
the sentry might get them. Damn, what a low bar, but like I cared about what was happening. The literal stakes and the thematic stakes.
Yeah, I think it speaks to like how simple like action movies can be to be effective, right? Like you said, like they didn't explore their themes particularly deeply, but it had a conclusion that was emotionally satisfying. And yes, that is a great addition to all of the action around it. And it works.
I also like that, unlike most superhero movies where the problem is solved with fists, this time it's not. The problem is very explicitly not solved with punching. The opposite of it, really. It is, in fact, a major plot point that the punching is bad. And that's just a nice thing to see in what is a very formulaic style of climax for any superhero movie, Marvel and DC, where in the end you punch the bad guy until he stops bad guying and we win. So it was nice to see something different on display and for it to resonate poignantly with the theme that the movie is playing with as well.
Yeah, it runs counter to, I'm going to say selfishness that is presented in a lot of, what you would call it, I was going to say hero worship movies, but I'm thinking of a different phrase. The power fantasy movie. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's me. I want to enjoy having, that kind of power. And, obviously we're in a political moment where that idea is like a virus, spreading across the whole continent. And it was nice to see, a movie whose conclusion, somewhat was speaking to a possible antidote to such a thing.
But this is, of course, a new release movie. So let's hit the trailer and plot summary. So if you haven't seen it, spoilers, obviously, but
yep.
That is what the movie's about.
We have no reliable heroes, and yet we still need protection. Witness the invincible,
stronger than all of the Avengers rolled into one,
and soon to be known as Earth's mightiest hero.
Why would a god take orders from anyone at all? Maybe I need to show you what I'm capable of.
Sentry's gone off the rails, and he's dangerous. Avengers, you're gone. No one is coming to save the day.
We could be the people that are coming.
Wait, us?
Yeah, you.
Why, you got someplace to be?
I love that guy.
Bucky, you have the wrong people. We have all done bad things.
You can live with it forever, or you can do something about it.
Being the hero, saving people in the streets. There is no higher calling.
You guys done with therapy?
Let's do this.
Yelena Belova is a directionless assassin. Her sister is dead, her dad has been reduced to chauffeuring around Americans in a dingy old limo, and her mother is not in this film. But more than anything, Yelena is without purpose. Left with nothing but the intrusive thoughts of the unforgivable violence she's committed, the assassin drifts from job to job for Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. That is, until Yelena and her contemporaries become a liability for the embattled de Fontaine, who is under congressional investigation. Valentina sends John Walker, aka U.S. Agent, Ava Starr, aka Ghost, Antonia Dreykov, aka Taskmaster, and Yelena, aka Yelena, to a covert facility to kill would-be thieves. In the ensuing struggle, a stasis pod spills out which contains a Sentry Project test subject, Bob. Valentina moves to incinerate the facility, and the former enemies, minus Taskmaster, R.I.P., must reluctantly work together to escape. Outside the bunker, an army waits to finish the job, but Bob stays behind to get filled with bullets while Yelena and company escape. But hang on. Bob isn't dead. In fact, he has terrifying superpowers. I know, superpowers in a Marvel movie. Wild. Speaking of superpowers, James Buchanan Barnes has decided to buck his congressman gig in favor of more winter soldiering. Realizing the threat of Bob, he enlists the help of the newly minted Thunderbolts to stop Valentina from unleashing an unpredictable superacid upon the world. And they're right to be concerned, because Bob's crippling traumatic past warps his powers into an all-encompassing void of depression that swallows New York City. In the end, this group of broken supers must administer something other than fist therapy to save the day.
Maybe I'll start off by just saying what I thought was interesting about Thunderbolts as a whole, just to talk about it more from a 30,000 foot view, is that the tone and the look of Thunderbolts is pretty much bog standard for Marvel movies. Like, it's got that same semi-serious, quirky, quippy, semi-humorous tone to it. It looks, as far as the color grading and all that, the same. It really is just the execution that feels much different about this one, where I was genuinely having fun from beginning to end. And a lot of the flaws of this movie, and there are obviously some, many for others, less for me, but I've really found that the execution was good enough for me to just forget about all the rest of the little stuff.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's because, and I think I chalk this up to the writers. The jokes do not undercut the emotional weight and the drama.
Right.
And the emotional weight and drama are executed correctly and deftly and thoughtfully, and they tie in to the action. So it's like a little recycle logo of not screwing it up by undercutting your jokes with action, undercutting your emotions with jokes, and undercutting your emotions with that.
Yeah. It is like the complete opposite of how Thor: Love and Thunder played out.
Exactly. Exactly. Comparing it to Thor Ragnarok is great because the character's kind of going through the same thing of I'm directionless and I don't know what to do. I'm a sad boy with no home and I don't really know what my purpose is in life. I sure hope my friends help me figure out what matters. But yet wildly different results.
Part of the reason for that, I think, is because of Marvel really leans heavily on the bathos. Mm-hmm. Which is, as you said, undercutting emotion with a joke so that the audience doesn't have to stew in some uncomfortable feelings for too long. And this movie plays that really earnestly. The emotions of the characters are treated respectfully and are treated, what's the word I'm looking for? It's treated
genuine,
real,
sincere,
genuinely. Yes. By the script and by the other characters. There's a really touching scene between Yelena and Red Guardian. On the streets of New York, which is genuine and heartfelt and emotional and isn't completely undercut by one of them quipping a joke immediately after. It's kind of refreshing to see a Marvel movie being willing to say, okay, you know what? We're going to wear our heart on our sleeve on this one. And that's okay because these characters are going through some stuff and we're going to go through it with them.
Yeah. Yeah, there's even a heart to heart between Yelena and Bob that sets up the end. It's not a positive heart to heart because she's giving him bad advice, but it also is not undercut by a very tasteless joke.
Yeah, and that's not to say there aren't jokes.
That's what I was about to say. It also serves the jokes because now the joke's job is to be a joke and not to be bathos for the emotional moment, which is why Red Guardian, hilarious. David Harbour is hamming it up, and that's not a problem. He's welcomed. The floor is his to be a big goofy ham. I love Wyatt Russell as John Walker, very funny asshole character. Yeah,
and yet, despite the fact that many of the characters are quite broad, and that's partly because it's an ensemble piece. A lot of these characters we haven't seen in a while, so we're kind of getting reintroduced to them. They also, they get to have moments where they, pull it back a little bit and are earnest. David Harbour, you're absolutely right. He's playing the big goofy character, but there are moments where he, reins it in and is hey, I'm still a person. I still have feelings. And I'm connecting with you heart to heart here. And that's nice. It's nice to see Marvel doing that.
Yeah.
Because they don't usually.
Yeah.
It would be really easy for Red Guardian to just be a big dumb goof for the whole movie and to not have those moments where he gets the serious look in his eye and is okay, here's how it is. And I like that. I like that they managed to pull that off.
I really appreciate when movies do that, when there's a character that is, ostensibly the comedic relief and then has a dramatic moment, because that, it's like anything in design, contrast is what you want. That's what you're looking for things to stand out. So the dramatic moment, I feel, sometimes hits harder when it comes from a character like that.
Well, and plus, if you want to look at the team archetypes, Red Guardian is the heart of the team. He's the guy who's constantly cheerleading them. He's excited to be there. He wants to go and do heroing, and he wants them to be their best selves. He is the connective tissue that helps bring these disparate assassins and killers and like PTSD survivors together to do some genuine heroing.
Yeah.
What a magic trick. Well done.
So good. I know I mentioned the stakes mattering, but I genuinely, the scene where they have to climb the elevator shaft was truly gripping. I really surprised myself with how it, like, obviously they're not going to fall. They're not going to fall. But because there's so few options narratively for like, what are they going to do when something goes wrong? I was truly butt clench, like, caring about that physical feat that they accomplish in a way that I don't think, thinking back to Captain America Brave New World, as cool as it was him flying around the Indian Ocean near the Celestial, at no point was I like, oh boy, I sure hope he doesn't get hit by a missile. Like, whereas this, I was like, oh my God, they're gonna fall. Like, oh, it was so, yeah.
It just occurred to me what clever details are in that whole sequence that make it work really well. Because the end of the sequence is U.S. agent saying he can make it, and he's gonna reach up to, is it like a shaft or something, like a door? Oh, right. Yeah, and but like it, like they've done a nice job of setting up, like, obviously they're all back to back. One person, when they open, if one person moves, the rest of them fall, and they've set up his selfishness in that scene earlier when they're at the bottom of the shaft and he tries to jump and reach the top, and he comes down and he lands and he's fine, right? So we know that even if he fell, he would be fine. So he's, that's the selfishness of the character is like is set up nicely and then concluded very nicely.
Speaking of just like fun little character details, I like they're sprinkled in so well. Like the first mission that we see Elena going on in the movie, she's not even in her super assassin suit. Like, she's so depressed that she's just wearing like her gym shorts, or like her like Lululemons and like a zip up hoodie. Her heart is not in it. She's just like going through the motions. She's talking about how she's going through the motions. She's not happy being there. She's doing just the half-assed effort. And it's all like, that's all punctuated by the fact that she's just dressed down to do it. And it's just little details like that sprinkled throughout, which again, it's nice. It's texture.
Yeah. There's even a moment in there where, is it a scientist that dies? That she didn't intend for this person to die. So like, again, like it's setting up her continually thinking about all the awful things that she's done in her life, and how, she's ready for her babyface turn, as it were.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, do we want to get into what we didn't like, or do we want to file that under fixes? Cause most of my notes are tied to the few things that didn't work for me. So do you want to go to fixes and start dunking on this, or do you want to have some more general?
I'm happy to try and do that. Yeah.
Sure. All right. Well, we've praised this movie, and I think overall we recommend it. Check out Thunderbolts if we haven't spoiled it too hard for you when it hits streaming, or if it's still in theaters. But the other side of the break here, we are going to fix the few things that is wrong with it.
Give it a little tune-up.
In the ghost town of Boron Ridge, an interdimensional boarding school houses delinquent students from all over the multiverse. The rules are strict. The campus is isolated. The students are forbidden from sneaking into other dimensions, but they do it anyway. This is Slug Blaster.
I heard that you might be interested in slug blasting. I would love to be able to have you on my team. I'm one of the best slug blasters in the school. I have a ton of experience. I've been to so many dimensions.
Esther Infinity, slug blaster documentarian extraordinaire.
I am running for prom queen. Can I count on your vote?
I'm Flopper, but lots of people just call me Bub or Bubby if they're close.
It's time to play the game. It's time to play Slug Blaster. Ready to play some Slug Blaster?
Quantum Kickflip. Season 3 premieres Wednesday, June 4th.
Welcome back to I Have Some Notes. We are fixing Thunderbolts, and I'm going to start off right here. This movie did lack the one. It's got one thing on Brave New World, or Brave New World has one thing on it. I think, and that's the leader. The leader wasn't in this one, and so like that's points against. I'm sorry, but
in Liam's opinion, anytime the leader wasn't on camera, all of the characters should be asking, "Where is the leader?"
Exactly. So
yeah.
But don't worry, part of my fixes actually include bringing the leader into it. So if you'll indulge me, joking aside, obviously I don't expect the Samuel Stearns to be in this movie. But one of the things that I felt this movie could have done with is tell us more about the Sentry program, because it's clearly something Valentina wants to cover up when she's being investigated. But what it was doing, aside from trying to make a superhuman, and what Yelena sees in that first mission, like, oh, there's some shadowy is happening in this shadowy cabal of science, like literal shadows in the figuratively shadow organization. And it's just a super science program. They're just trying to make a superhero, and they accidentally made Bob. But Bob is akin to a god. He's got Superman powers. And so I would like to know what makes the Sentry program different than the original Super Soldier program. Hydra stuff, sword stuff, shield stuff, the Weapon X program. Like why is the Sentry program a thing? Why is Valentina in charge of it? What was it doing?
And you know what? I hate almost to suggest this, because I think we're all fans of things being self-contained in a movie, but it almost feels like the Sentry program should have been hinted at previously.
Sure.
Like in another movie. I'm not going to say in a Disney TV show, because that's maybe a bridge too far, but.
Well, and that's even I'm glad you brought up the Disney shows. I have seen every Marvel thing except Agatha all along. It's the only one I haven't gotten to yet. I have watched all the shows. I've seen all the movies. So when I'm like, the Sentry program, it's news to me, I was a little annoyed. And so the thing I was saying, I'd like to know what makes it different than all the other clandestine Super Soldier programs. But specifically, what went wrong that got us Bob? Like, they didn't go, oopsie tootsie, we made a Hulk. They didn't go, oopsie tootsie, we've made a lady who can phase through walls. They made someone who could go toe-to-toe with Thor. They've got to be doing something special, and I would have liked to know about that. I don't need to know how the Sentry powers work. Like, explaining how the shame rooms work isn't I don't need that. I'm not
Well, that's not technically Sentry powers, that's void powers. That's different.
Sure, but like, I don't need it explained away how all that shit works, but just like, what were they doing differently than Hydra that had them fall ass backwards into a god instead of Samuel Stearns? And so my fix for this is, instead of at the end of Brave New World having Captain America go and be like, shake his fist at the leader in a cell, Valentina should come and be like, hey, I'm sorry you're in a cell, but just to let you know, I bought a bunch of your research, I've acquired it, and I'm going to keep carrying on with it. The gamma stuff's fine, whatever. What is this Sentry thing you were working on? Or something. That's just one of the pitches I had. Because the void like sends you to another dimension. Maybe something to do with America Chavez or that Charlize Theron character that pops up at the end of Multiverse of Madness. Like, just like, what edge did they have that got them to accidentally make Bob? I would have liked to know. And my pitch is the leader or one of the Portal characters.
I noticed when I was writing the plot summary that I didn't necessarily connect Bob to that opening spy scene or whatever you want to call it. Her when she's, and I know that they made a very direct call out to Valentina in that scene, so that's somewhat on me. I'll give it that. But I also think it's just because maybe there could have been like a tiny bit of a setup that this pod exists inside the facility where they're about to incinerate all of, is it called the Ox Group, right? All their stuff. Like if you just, cause you had that scene, I think where Valentina and Mel they're in that bunker, right? And they're chatting. Am I remembering that correctly? I think we see inside that hold before the rest of the characters enter it. Or maybe I'm mistaken.
I don't believe so, but I'm not.
Oh, you know what it could be. I'm thinking of the scene where they're taking all of that stuff out of the.
Yes.
Right. They're trying to cover it up.
She's in like an empty, like it looks like the back of a stadium.
So that it could be as simple as the camera panning down as people are carrying that pod into the truck, and then it just has like Century Project something or other written on it in, just as like almost like a medical tag or whatever, just so that we get a quick setup for this thing is going to be in this room where they're sending.
And if they can tie it to that first mission, so you're like, oh, the thing she was blowing up on that first mission, there's other factors of it here, and they're getting sent to the incinerator.
Yeah, it's just a little extra hand holding. Just because it's such a small thing and it doesn't really affect the movie a whole lot, but it would work. Adding the extra setup.
Liam, you talked about the stakes in the movie. And how you generally and genuinely felt many times throughout the film that the characters were in danger. And I think the movie does a pretty good job of that, but I think it could be better. And the way I see it, there's only two ways that you can do that to make you really feel like the characters are in danger and that the plot is considering them expendable. And that is either have Taskmaster last until the second act, or have another member of the team who also dies in the second act.
Yeah.
I don't know which, ancillary background covert ops person. I think Crossbones would have been a great mix there, but he already blew himself up a few movies back. But some other rogue agent who Valentina has on her payroll, Taskmaster bites it in the opening, and then this person dies somewhere in Act 2, while they're maybe on the run or up against Sentry. Like Sentry rips them in half or something. Just to really drive home how much danger they're in, and to make it feel like these last more major characters are in much more danger going into the end. Because it's like, oh crap, the movie could kill anyone at any moment. Like 2 people are already dead and they were on the poster.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, because I was very on board with either of those while you were saying it, and then I was like, okay, trying to figure out the math of where do you move Taskmaster, or do you have it be another character? And the thing that's interesting about the way Taskmaster dies, yes, Valentina is going to kill all of them in the incinerator. One of the Thunderbolts kills Taskmaster. And so I'm just trying to think, because later in the movie, I guess it has to be Valentina. Whoever dies has to be at the hand of Valentina's goons.
Yeah, I agree. It can't be.
I don't
Sentry.
think it can be at the hand of Sentry.
It can't be. It specifically can't be Sentry. And Voight doesn't really kill anybody so much as just banishes them to a terrible netherworld where they're tortured for all eternity in their own personal hell. Which, I mean, great. Shocking when it happens to a little girl right in front of us.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there just needs to be another character that dies in conflict with Valentina, maybe.
Yeah. Like her main henchman or something, offs another character. Again, in the second act, partway through, a little later than Taskmaster. I just feel like that would up the tension and make it seem like any of the characters are in danger. Anyone could die at any point. They just killed that guy. He was in a movie.
Here's my pitch. Here's my pitch. I'm trying to think what character have we seen? And again, I've seen all of these things. So I'm who could you pull in? And I think if you genuinely kill Taskmaster in the first act and then fake out kill David Harbour, kill Gregg Guardian in the second act, but he's not really dead. But because I normally hate it when movies do that, when like you think someone's dead and then actually they're alive. You could earn it if you commit to one early on and then you ruthlessly kill the funniest character. And then you almost make us think a little girl is going to die. Like really make you think people are going to die. And then, oh, okay, the little girl comes back. Oh, damn, Red Guardian made it. Oh, I'm actually quite relieved. I'm stoked. Taskmaster's for sure dead. But like, I think my I don't know if I'm super committed to this, but my pitch is Red Guardian fake out dies in the second act.
I might be okay with that. I'm also okay with the movie straight up killing another like C-lister.
Maybe it's Red Guardian.
Well, no, I'm okay with I like the core group that we have. I'm suggesting we bring in another character who we off.
Yeah.
Not one of because I like the dynamic with Red Guardian and US Agent and Ghost and Yelena. I don't want to ruin that.
Yeah.
And Bucky as well. But yeah, that's why I'm thinking like bring in, I don't know, a member of the Serpent Society or something. I don't know. Someone who we've seen before who's easily expendable.
If they hadn't cut Seth Rollins from Brave New World,
there's your guy.
He could have come in, yeah. So, oh well.
Live and learn.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind adding more cannon fodder. I did feel personally that there was enough tension in the movie overall. I think that was largely built up in the Sentry scene, like the Golden Mane Sentry scene, where you get the sense of just how powerful this guy is. He's not fazed by any particular attack by any of the Thunderbolts that are trying to stop him. So yeah, like I felt like at that point the stakes were sufficiently raised, and then they get amped up even higher once he turns into the void, and then he's just disappearing, little kids and all this other stuff, in a pretty terrifying way. Like that shadow effect is such a simple special effect, but it is extremely effective, and they did a very nice job of doing that. I want to make sure first that I'm remembering the conclusion properly, but as far as like characters that we see in the void, I believe we're just following Yelena through her journey through it. Like no other, and then the rest of the characters kind of just show up at some point.
We see Valentina and Walker's version of the void earlier when they touch Bob, but we don't, once we're actually like going through the rooms like a Rolodex, it's just either Bob or Yelena.
Yeah,
which is a shame. We never see Ghost and we never see Bucky.
I disagree, but let Scott finish or Greg finish his thought. But I actually disagree.
Like I was just thinking, one of the scenes that I really enjoyed was the kind of the big save the cat scene where every member of the team got to save someone. So you got whether it was US Agent or Ghost, everyone got to save someone, and you got this hero moment, and that was really nice. And I feel like it would be great for that to be somewhat juxtaposed by us actually seeing their version of the void, and hopefully adding a little bit of extra character development into them. Because because the one thing I think about that final scene when Yelena realizes that she's got to, go and essentially impart empathy to Bob in order to stop him from punching the crap out of the void and becoming an all-encompassing void himself, is that I didn't feel the heart from the group. And I kind of think if like we got to see all these people experience the worst moments of their life and all of them needing some empathy as well, some understanding and empathy, it would have made that conclusion hit even harder when all of them realize all at once that yes, this is the thing that we need to do. We need to come together as a little community to save this guy and in turn save ourselves, right?
And Scott, that you would be inclined to agree?
Yeah, kind of. Partly just because I'm curious what Ghost and Bucky were experiencing. I have a pretty good idea what Bucky was experiencing, but I'm legit curious what Ghost was experiencing. So,
yeah. Here's why I thought about that coming out of the movie of like, oh, we don't see every character's shame room. Either before when they just touch him or at the end when everyone is on the dark side of New York City.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I don't want to say like I disagree and you're wrong, but I think I don't know that I needed that partly because they all got the hero moment where they all get to save an innocent. And I think just because you then would have had to see Red Guardian, Echo, Bucky, or not Echo, Ghost. You would have had to see 3 more. It just would have been a hat on a hat. Like what you might have got out of character development for them, you lose in momentum by being like, each one gets their moment to show their trauma and overcome it in a way that I think would have been diminishing returns, especially by the time you get to like if Red Guardians is jokey. I don't know. I think it would have been diminishing returns by seeing all of them. That I kind of like that we learned the game in the first half of the movie. Yelena touches him, Walker touches him, Valentina touches him. Okay, we get the bit. And then when we got to go through it, it's really like we're going through it with Bob. Because I think diminishing returns if we had to take a moment to see each little person's moment.
Well,
Personally.
just to be clear, I wouldn't want each of them to have like a mini arc, like a getting over their shame.
Oh, just like a snap.
That is the conclusion. Like they get over their shame by hugging Bob. That's how that's done. But like to seeing them suffer inside the void, I think would actually be it would be helpful. And I think if you're doing some clever editing and trying to make it as concise as you can, I think it is possible it would work. I don't disagree that there's a risk of losing momentum. That is 100% a concern. Considering like it's an action movie, it's already pretty long. This would add probably arguably 5 to 10 minutes to it or something like that. Right. So yeah.
I think that there's a way to have our cake and look at it because you can't really eat a cake and have it. I'm going to take that back. I think that there's kind of a way to work both of these because as I was thinking about it, the reason why we follow Yelena through the maze of the void is because we don't know that the rest of the Thunderbolts have followed her in. It's meant to be a big cavalry moment when they all burst into the room and they're like, hey, we followed you in because we believe in you. But I think earlier in the movie, there's time to have little snippets. And that also helps like build the characters too, right? So like there should have been a point where Bob touched Ghost and maybe a point where he touched Red Guardian. And we get to see a little bit of their trauma. And then we can just extrapolate that that's the kind of stuff they were dealing with when they were in the void. So you still get that little bit of character development, but it doesn't ruin the momentum in the third act because we're still just lasering through with Yelena, right?
I think you're right. Peppering them throughout. And I guess you either see all of them. We see Red Guardian, we see Ghost, and we see Bucky. Or since we know what Bucky's is because he's been around for 10 movies. Or however many movies, and we can kind of assume Red Guardians. I wonder if it's just a matter of we should have also seen Ghosts because she's.
I think we definitely should have also seen.
They kind of make a nice trifecta. Her, Walker, and Yelena kind of make the core 3 with like Bob, Bucky, and Red Guardian sort of playing roles, but our core party is the 3 of them. We should have saw the 3 traumas.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Ghost is definitely probably the least developed out of all of them. So
all the more reason to have,
to
like show her in the lab as a little kid, like being tested on by S.H.I.E.L.D. because of her weird powers.
And I love that we see Valentina's because it kind of humanizes the villain in a really satisfying way. So yeah, our four main characters are those three heroes and the villain. Those are the four we should see snippets of before we run the gamut of Bob's many traumas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Dig it. Did you guys have any other notes? Because I got one more that I want to
go for it.
Chip away at. So that last post-credit scene, there's two post-credit scenes. There's one where he's on the Wheaties box and the lady doesn't want to buy the Wheaties. Ha ha ha. And then the last one, I actually really loved. Not only is that probably my favorite post-credit scene, it was one of my favorite scenes of the movie because it comes on the tail end of the excellent end credit scene where it's all the media coverage being like, who are these guys? The new Avengers? What? Can we trust them? Is this good? What about these other people? That end credit scene was also great. Like the actual credits. And then it was really fun seeing them. I think it said 14 months later in Avengers Tower. What's their new normal? There's laughs. There's drama. It's really quite interesting. And it's a lot of great character moments. And then they all turn and go, what's that? And it's here come the Fantastic Four. And I loved the character beats in that thing so much that it should have been where the Wheaties things, cut the Wheaties bit, put them having fun, talking about their branded merch, complaining about, what Sam Wilson's doing and how they're going to get sued for using the Avengers. Have that whole scene. That's great. Then a bunch more credits, and then the very last thing is a completely different group of characters turning and going, what's that? Here come the Fantastic Four. Cause I like that scene too much to have it basically just be a trailer for Fantastic Four. And they mentioned Sam Wilson. They mentioned these other legitimate Avengers. That's a chance to sort of show them assembling to show, oh shit, here come the Fantastic Four.
To tease Sam and Falcon and a bunch of like other heroes who he's recruited.
Riri Wilson standing there, or Riri Williams, the Ironheart, young Hawkeye, young Ant-Man. Like, show us that other team and why they feel like they're the Avengers. Or show me show Doctor Strange scratching his head going, who's coming in now? I don't care. I just separate the Fantastic Four trailer from the very wonderful scene of them as the new Avengers.
Actually, if Sam had recruited all of the legacy, most of the younger legacy characters, it'd be funny if he was essentially running the Young Avengers.
Yeah. We got the new Avengers and the Young Avengers.
Yeah, that would actually, I think that would work. That would be really fun.
You could pay off one of the cringiest post-credit scenes in all of the MCU. Did either of you watch She-Hulk?
Nope.
Yeah.
Yep.
At the end of She-Hulk, Mark Ruffalo's like, by the way, I have a son, and then walks
from space.
Kid Hulk from space out at a picnic. And then he just sort of waves, and then that's it. And so you could have the young Hulk standing there. You could at least do something, but yeah, that's probably the cringiest one of them all, is where it's just the Hulk brings his kid to the picnic and the scene's over. So, that's my fix for those end credit scenes. Could have done right by the Fantastic Four, could have done right by the legitimate Avengers, and you could have given that excellent character beat scene the moment it deserved.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot that needed really fixed in this movie. It's pretty good. It just needed maybe a little tightened up.
Yeah. Or not. I enjoyed it either way.
It's nice to occasionally be surprised with the quality of a film, especially a Marvel movie lately, because the Marvel formula has gotten so stagnant and repetitive and sloppy in the past few years. And it's nice to see them take a step back and not only do something just a little different, but execute on, they're still executing on the formula here. They're actually succeeding.
Yeah.
And I think it's partly because they are trying something a little different. They're not sticking rigidly to the formula, and they're spending time with the characters in an earnest way so that we can connect with them, so that we can understand them, and so that we can feel feelings with them.
Yeah. And aside from the new Avengers thing, which I know was a big thrust of it, but it didn't feel like I was being set up to watch another movie throughout most of it until the end credit stuff, which is fine because that's what they're for. I don't care. But in the movie proper, not really. You know, you're getting little hints and lilts and stuff like that, but they've also done a pretty decent job for the most part, with maybe the exception of Ghost, of showing you who these characters are and giving them enough of an emotional thrust to make the conclusion satisfying. So, yep. Yeah, well done.
Indeed. I think the highest praise I can give it is I might watch this again someday. Whereas I no interest in watching Grave.
So you're not going to watch Quantum Mania?
Oh my God. For a third time? No, thank you. Even Deadpool Wolverine, I can't see myself ever watching Deadpool Wolverine a second time. But this, yeah.
I still to this day keep calling that movie Deadpool versus Wolverine. I don't know why. I can't get the V out of my head.
And we have listener comments. Our listeners had a lot to say, so thank you to everyone who contributed. Let's get right into them. Aaron says, it's been a while since I thought the effects in an action movie were really memorable. The way Bob turned into a shadow is creepy, and the effects when the shadow hits people looks like the shadows of people at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It's a gut punch. In most of these movies, it feels completely inconsequential when innocent bystanders get hit unless it's expressly focused on to show the heroes feeling bad.
Yeah, as I said, that little girl getting turned into like a shadow on the ground was like, holy crap, they just did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Bob looked sick as the Void. Like it was solid.
Yeah, the comparison to the nuclear shadows is an excellent one. So excellent I wanted to steal it, but I did not.
Robin Taylor says, I really like T-Bolts. Florence Pugh is the beating heart of the story, and this is the first Marvel movie in a while that has people in the center of the characters. The climax isn't a glowy thing, but an explosion of trauma and healing. It looks fantastic, especially compared to the flat and drab end credits announcing the Fantastic Four. I don't really have any critiques because it's such a refreshing surprise.
Yeah, Florence Pugh carries this movie. She's
Oh, for sure.
To the point where I think it would have. She did a better job than I think Scarlett Johansson would have, in a version where Scarlett Johansson didn't throw her hands up and quit, and somehow this movie ends up in her canon. Yeah, I don't know that I think Florence Pugh is necessarily a better actor, but I think in this case, she really carries this movie in a way that's she does deserve to be in movies that are otherwise nominated for Oscars.
I don't know if it's because I'm a dad, but the scene where she like tearfully, like just emotionally unpacks herself in front of Red Guardian, and he earnestly is like trying to be there for her in spite of everything, like legitimately, like my throat clenched up. Like I felt it in my heart, and it was really, really good acting from both of those actors.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't see a lot of superhero movies of someone crying for daddy, but like her literally going, "Daddy."
Yeah, and it worked. It didn't come across as like overly saccharine or dumb. It was an earned emotional beat from both of them, because she earnestly in that moment needed her dad, and he earnestly in that moment wanted to be there for her, and it just like my feelings like
yeah. I think it's interesting and maybe a big stroke of luck for Marvel that they're catching Florence Pugh on her rise in the same way that they did with Scarlett Johansson.
Mm-hmm.
And
kinda, yeah.
Yeah, and perhaps she can be the same similar thrust for their next phase as Scarlett Johansson was. We'll see. Remains to be seen, but
and some of their best stuff has always been the super spy stuff anyway. So I mean, go with the super spies.
Wings McGee says, as per Liam's request in the last episode, my notes are, I didn't watch it. Yep. Thank you for listening. I don't care if you watch the movie, you listen to us, and that's what's important.
Frequent contributor Tack says, I'm reasonably certain I won't be able to see this movie before the due date, so let's all just pretend I had a really clever fix that no one wants to spoil. Tack, you should probably go see the movie. It's pretty good.
It's good. Ratlon commented, "What didn't sit well with me was the motivation and the message of the main threat solution. As much as it seems to be about the importance of mutual support in dealing with depression and similar psychological problems, all of the Thunderbolts, except maybe Little Widow, only wanted to defeat the big bad evil villain to save the day. Most of them didn't care about Bob and certainly not about his struggle. And this superficiality of the people around them is one of the reasons why people don't dare be open about their fears and problems. So this is their fix. Shorten the first third until they escape the bunker. Don't let them know that Bob survived. All what they know is that he was killed, and let them feel bad about it. I see. Give us a montage of Bob's training and the manipulation from the evil corporate lady. The same time, show us how the Thunderbolts grew as a team. Show us how they escaped the killer commandos of the evil corporate lady, but also how they somehow grew together. How Little Widow stops Red Guardian from drinking. How Ghost delivers a letter from Captain America to the kid and wife. Show that they take care of each other and how they learn more about the Sentry Project.
Good opportunity
more
to
say,
learn more
but
about the Sentry Project. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely want them to learn more about Sentry Project, and having them do it while growing as a team is interesting. Another comment coming up here talks about the time in this film, and I think it is. I commented it on my way out of the movie, but Josh Scar and a couple comments here really hammers it home. This movie does take place over like a day and a half in a way that prevents any kind of long-term team building. So
yeah, and there's no reason it couldn't have taken a little longer, not runtime, but like in universe.
Yeah,
because that way they have more time to train up Bob as the Sentry, for them to find out he's still alive, and for them to make it back to New York City in a reasonable amount of time, which, again, so actually I'm tiptoeing up to what Josh has to say.
Yeah, I actually think this is a great fix that solves continuity problems as well as character development problems. Ratlon continues, then they hear about this new hero from the evil corporate lady, and they put two and two together. Now they want to rescue Bob because they care and are willing to come out of their hiding spot. Then they get attacked and defeated by Sentry, but not give up on him. Then the evil corporate lady then kills Bob. You can show how he's kicking him and say evil corporate things. So Bob has his breakdown, and it was all from the lies of the evil corporate lady. He realizes that the only people who seem to care about him got their asses handed to him, so Void takes over. Now their motivation is to save Bob and save the day, and they hug him because they care, because they learned that you take care of personal problems with the help of others. Yeah, I guess it more or less plays out the same.
Just a little more time for like the middle act to breathe in this version. Yeah. And that, I think that would overall help the film for sure. So Josh Scar from Talking Smack, you can go and listen to Talking Smack. He pontificates quite a bit about the movie there, and his quibbles with it, but we'll summarize things here because
I gotta
he
actually
has some interesting points.
Shout out Talking Smack. I do listen to the new Avengers episode, or yeah, I guess it was the new Avengers episode. A lot of great insights that I was like, ooh, I kind of wish I had thought of like some of my notes. But yeah. Keep up the great work. Talking Smack crew. Sorry.
Yeah, so basically some bullet points of stuff that he brought up. Taskmaster's death needs to be reworked. The fact that her mask isn't bulletproof showcases how they had nothing for her to do. Quick fix would be when she opens the mask to say something to Yelena. That's when she takes the bullet from Ghost. Number 2, movie needs to play better with time and distance of locations. The film seemingly takes place, as Liam just said, over the course of like 48 hours, but they go from DC to New York to the mountains in Utah to a nearby desert back to New York, all within 24 hours in Red Guardian's limo, which can barely go 55 miles per hour. So that's something that could have been slightly better handled. You don't really notice it in the moment. It's forgivable, but if you think about it too hard, it's like, that doesn't make much sense.
And same with Bucky showing up on his motorcycle.
Yeah, for sure. Change the location of the press conference at the end of the movie to the conference room or even the lobby of the New Avengers Tower. Valentina having the press on the other side of a curtain moments after they come out of the void makes no sense and is kind of dumb. She called the press to reveal Sentry. Why would she do that in the middle of the street, especially in the middle of where a whole bunch of stuff just exploded? I'm going to add in, that's my 2 cents. Yeah. It would have had to have been somewhere she could make a grand presentation. And where would that be the most impressive place? Than maybe the top of the tower. So yeah, some
To
interesting
that
points
end,
there from Josh.
I want to tag onto that last one. It is weird that they have a press conference in the street seconds after everyone got out of their own private hells. But regardless of where the press conference is happening, it would have been nice if maybe all the people on the street reacted to the fact that they just went through their own personal looping hells. Like they didn't get killed and brought back to life. They weren't, scared, cowering, and now they're free to walk out into the light. They literally were put through the ringer of trauma. Everyone who got back as a ghost should be, or back from being a shadow, should be like maybe a couple people crying, maybe a couple people shaking, talking about what they saw. Just like, not that like, oh, the sun is rising, the day is saved at the end of the action movie moment. That's not what they went
especially
through.
Considering that I don't believe that they would have understood who saved them.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's one part of the movie that feels like it was a reshoot that was tagged on after the fact, that was the part.
Yeah.
That's the part that would have been in the Kang Dynasty otherwise or whatever. Yeah.
I wanted to quickly say, because I also listened to Talking Smack's episode on Thunderbolts, and I thought it was really interesting, their perspective compared to mine, because they are coming at it from, a more of a hardcore comics fan perspective. And, a lot of their conversation was kind of surrounded around like how a lot of these characters kind of hook in to the broader Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is a completely and totally fair way to evaluate this movie, because I've said many times that like I feel like the MCU is basically a television show, so it's perfectly fine to critique it based on that sort of criteria. So, they had mentioned that, for example, U.S. Agent, his sort of emotional through line in this movie is sort of redundant with what he was going through in the Falcon and Winter Soldier show, if I understand it correctly. So, there's totally valid critiques to be had there. And it was just interesting for me, for someone who like is not watching any of these shows, was kind of watching this movie much more in isolation and taking it as just a movie, how like none of that stuff bothered me. And from my perspective, the stuff that we got with U.S. Agent was perfect, was good, because it was actually my first exposure to that character. And that was, it was, emotionally satisfying for me, and I liked him as a character and I enjoyed him. So yeah, like when you're coming at it at all these different angles, and when the MCU is just this big, sprawling, huge thing, you're going to have all these really interesting different perspectives on it. And I think that's kind of fun.
Agreed.
For sure.
I'm glad U.S. Agents can stick around because he is a fun character. Cocky asshole Captain America works great, especially in a way that like, I don't think they can really bring the Punisher into the MCU, so he kind of fills the Punisher slot of like all violence cocky asshole who's still a good guy at heart. So yeah,
and Wyatt Russell's also fun. So nice to see him doing stuff.
Yeah, and also I realize I haven't watched Daredevil yet. I think the Punisher's in the MCU again. So never mind.
But is he going to be fighting Doom? Yeah, that's the question.
I've been playing Marvel Rivals, and it's very fun to see the Marvel characters smoothed out so every character is balanced and equally powerful. I'm not one of those nerds who's like, the Punisher would lose to Thor. It's just neat how they represent what is the Punisher's ultimate move versus the Winter Soldier's move versus Hela versus Ultron. Yeah. All
right. Yeah.
But this ain't a video game podcast, nor is it the beginning. It's the end. Thank you to everyone who listened.
Yeah, you can get a hold of us via the social medias, where I have some notes.bluesky.social over on Blue Sky. We're at I Have Some Notes Pod on Instagram, where I have some notes on Facebook. But the real action is over on our Discord server. You can find a link to join that in the profile of any of our other social media accounts or at ihavesomenotes.com. There's great conversations going on there all the time. We're talking about the movies we're about to do podcasts about. We're talking about movies that are coming out. We're talking about TV. Maybe we'll talk about video games. If you want to talk about video games, just hit us up. You can also give us a little rating and review on your podcatcher of choice, because that always helps us out.
And you can support us on Patreon as well. Visit patreon.com/ihavesomenotes to become an armchair screenwriter. For just $3 a month, you get access to bonus episodes, old and new, as well as a shout out on the podcast. We do appreciate your support.
Yeah, we've run out of the current slate of movies that we were going to do, and we'll have to build that back up. We have been getting some pretty interesting suggestions, so we'll keep you apprised on our Discord channel as well as our social media as to what is coming up next. Let us know, like, what Goldie Hawn movie we should do.
Get the whole family involved.
Until then, I'm Liam Creswick.
I'm Scott C. Bourgeois.
I'm Greg Beaver. Keep watching the skies, and elbows up, Canada.